So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and from a CBC, we move over to the El Clasico of, well, the Gold to Diamond bracket. We are gonna go into, well, the two most popular races here in Gold to Diamond. It's gonna be Terran versus Protoss, and I'm Dax. I'm still gonna be joined, of course, by Mr. Malupeyt of Buhay Productions and TVP this time, bud. What do you think about this matchup?
Well, TVP, I think in my uh, bracket, in my rank bracket around Diamond 2 and Diamond 1, there are a lot of Terrans that are struggling in Laban sa Protoss. One of them is Mizzle. And I think, especially if you're playing Bio, because you're kind of forced to play Bio when you're facing Protoss. And you can't cheat your way like playing Mech anymore. Because I think Mech is not a viable solution against Protoss. But yeah, in my bracket, a lot of Terrans are struggling against Protoss. So we'll see about this matchup.
Hey,
Actually,
it's all about control, right? And with a
yeah.
big bio ball, you need to make sure you can bother your opponent as much as possible. And I can see the problem there in the lower leagues because, okay, I have a lot of Marines, but then the Protoss has Zap Zap and Big Boom and Big
Mhm.
Cook. So all of those just hit my Marines that are very, very close, and you can it's a hard sell to say to a gold to diamond player. So just micro it better. Just go for the split because it's really one of those weaknesses that someone needs to figure out. And I understand the situation there, but it really feels like if you could play that Terran really well, then you can really, really put your Protoss opponent on edge every single time. And that's what we see in higher tier TVP. But here in the lower
Yeah.
leagues, I love the statement there from Mr. Vic because exactly he knows what the problem is. So looking into this potential TVP, any expectations of unit compositions here from both sides?
Well, one of the things that most of the Terran players are successful in doing is actually uh, getting the right build order and doing a timing attack.
Mm-hmm.
So it really depends on what you scout. If your opponent is going in for Robo Colossus, you might be focusing on that Marauder composition. But anything aside from that, I don't think we're going to see any kind of mech at this matchup.
Hey,
But
I think you're gonna go for a little bit of a siege tank action from here and there, just for the defense. A Raven gonna be helpful as well if you can control it right with interference matrices, able to shut down Colossi. That's something we've seen, I believe, from a few matches here and there. Or am I thinking of another tournament? But yeah, it's just such a good shutdown, right? You see a War of the Worlds kind of strider, and then you just say, "Zap!" You're not gonna shoot anything, and just stares at you longingly to try and cook up your Marines, and it just doesn't happen. But you know what else is cooking here, guys, in the quarantine tournament? Is of course our sponsors PurePC and Block 101. Big shout outs to these guys for setting things up, hooking us up with the prize pool. This is presented to you, of course, by DLS Mizzle, Daks PH, and Buhay Productions. Here for Gold to Diamond, we are not only giving away some money into our prize pool itself, but also a keyboard, a Fantech K613 Fighter TKL2. And you know, Mr. Mizzle himself, he's been attesting to the quality there of some Fantech devices. Big shout out to PurePC for setting this one up. And ikaw, oh, sige. Give me a real testimony then. What do you feel about your keyboard?
Well, yung CPU case ko yung galing Pure PC.
Ah, okay. Give me that testimony.
Hindi ko makakabit yung CPU parts ko kung wala akong CPU case.
Yeah, exactly. You need a case to keep everything in place. And you know what is the problem sometimes in the TVP is when you keep everything in place, you see the Purification Nova come to you and you're just like, Protoss OP, that is just not going to happen whatsoever. It's all about control. This whole matchup is going to be based on control. And speaking of control, we are going to be getting into our first map, which is more on the macro side.
Wait.
Ooh, what's up?
Also, while we're talking about sponsors,
Okay.
I would like to congratulate the owner of Block 101, Mr. G-Boy, Mr.
Yeah.
Subi, for getting engaged.
Oh, yeah.
She said yes.
She said yes. So not only can you make your card game dreams come true, but maybe you can find love in the air there in Block 101. But enough about that. We will check out our first map. It's going to be on the more macro side here, Vic, and it is Eternal Empire LE. Going to be interesting as we get into this game. Going to be, of course, a best of 3 yet again. Terran versus Protoss, but some really good points there by Mr. Vic into, well, Gold to Diamond bracket. Can we see Vandraus be able to, well, control his units enough to stay away from the storms, from the lasers, from the big booms? Or will we just see Garchuu be able to hold, be able to defend, and then be able to steamroll his way to victory? This is more on the macro side, though, so anything can happen. There's a lot of space for each player to play in, for each player to set something up, and it is going to be high time to get into this game. Best of 3 action here and now as we get into Eternal Empire. So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and this is your second match for round number 2 in the gold to diamond bracket. This time is a TVP, the El Clasico that we see in the higher leagues, into the higher rounds of the Quarantine Tournament number 5 gold to diamond brackets. But introducing first, you may have seen this name before. He has gotten into the top parts of Quarantine Tournaments prior. He is a pretty potent Protoss, and he's on the blue side. It is our blue Protoss on the top right, Garchuu. And his opponents here on the bottom left, a man who is just going to look to jam his opponent down, and the man who's looking to rock that pink on the southwest corner of Eternal Empire. He's looking to get those splits on. He's looking to keep the bio ball on. It is our pink Terran looking to play it out, Vandraus. So here we are, Vic. PVT. And as I said before, Garchuu, this man is no slouch on the Protoss side. And can you remember, like, a little bit about him? Because I really feel like this name is so familiar to me.
Well, I was about to say that he is one of our mainstays from the Quarantine Tournament series. Lagi siyang umaabot, I think, way past the playoff stages, mga quarterfinals, semifinals. He is always making it to the latter stages of the Quarantine Tournament. Well, wag na natin sisihin yung race niya, guys. Hindi talaga OP yung Protoss. But yeah, I think Garchuu really master niya yung mga ibang build order eh. Like the execution, the timing, everything is right. So we'll see on how Vandraus can react to this.
Hey, you know when I hear people say Protoss OP, it's just because the Protoss can decimate anything in the blink of an eye, right? It's just suddenly, okay, storms connect, lasers connect, Nova connects, and then things are immediately deleted. When you're fighting against anything else, there's still that damage you can take. Even a siege tank can't delete you immediately. So it just goes to show that for the Protoss, with the more AoE, it's just so sad to see everything you built go to waste. But the problem for Protoss itself, if you hurt their middle lines, they are the worst faction. They are the worst race to try and come back from something. So here we are in the TVP. We, of course, see the standard puts your buildings by the Reaper position. Twilight cancel, though, gonna be early. Will this be an adept play here from Garchuu? As Vandraus right now sending in the Reaper. Gonna get that intel. But that Reaper, what's happening? Bro! What are you doing? This is what happens when you give a kid a jetpack. He just dies in the field of battle. The Adept happy to shut that one down. Second base, though, being built by Vandraus. Bunker there for the defense because he didn't know what to do with that Reaper, bro.
Yeah, a little bit of misplay coming in from Vandraus. But speaking of Protoss having problems once their mineral line is damaged, Eternal Empire is one of the best maps to do multi-pronged drops. You know, it has this kind of space here.
Yep, I gotcha. On both sides, right? East side and the north side of that Protoss base. So easy for Medivacs to just go for the boosters and drop those Marines if need be. But Garchuu right now, gonna be hanging on back. Respect the bunker. You gotta hashtag respect the bunker, guys. It's 400 HP. You cannot do anything past it unless you can get a good transfer. And Vandraus gonna keep the doors open, but the Widow Mine gonna be into play. Might be a drop, though, to try and get into the mineral line, as we say. But oh, Garchuu, they're gonna give us a parting blow here with the Blink Stalker quickly. Gonna be a three gates, one robo setup. So Stalkers Immortals gonna be a pretty good composition to start things off.
Yeah, we'll see if we can see some kind of aggression coming in onto the side of Garchuu, because I think Blink is really good against Terran, especially if they went with the wrong build. Especially if they went with Hellion openers, it would be really going to be a disaster onto the side of that Terran. But
speed is nothing to teleportation, and I completely agree. Even if you have good number of Marines, if you only have normal Stalkers, they're gonna die quickly if they're stimp back on. But with Blink Stalker, you can actually micro them accordingly and maximize that DPS. And Stalkers are no slouch unit, guys. These have 160 effective HP overall, and they can be pretty tanky if need be. So for Garchuu, with the early Blink after the initial bother onto the Reaper, he's gonna be feeling very confident to set up onto the natural, go for more and more of these units And it seems like, though, he just wants to play it safe, and Vandraus doing the same, setting up the Great Wall of Supply depots here in front of his second base.
Good positioning here onto the side of Garchuu, already placing 3 stalkers here on his natural, as this Medivec with Widow Mines already on the way. I don't think the observer would see this, but good thing the stalkers are ready here, up and ready to defend.
Garchuu, though, looking to keep an eye out. Speaking of that, Observer, though, checking out that main base. And it seems like by the 5-minute mark, we're going to see Vandraus slowly but surely pump up those upgrades as soon as possible. And there you go, +1 going online. We will see that sample Raven as well as the sample Siege Tank here. And every single time I see a Terran have tech labs set up, it just feels like they're going window shopping with the other buildings, and they decide to just go back to McDonald's and buy the same meal they always get every single time. But Surak setup, going to be looking for the transition. Tech lab going to be given there, and there you go, twin upgrades as well. Vandraus gonna go for quality over quantity this time, and this should give Garchuu a good timing window to actually go for the aggression if our pink Terran is gonna take a sweet time to build his units up.
Yeah. So forge upgrades already on the way onto the side of our blue Protoss.
Double pumped upgrades. Interesting enough, this is a very interesting charge for Garchuu. So it seems like the answer for him is to go for +1s as well, because he's anticipating the upgrades there from the Marine Ball. And hey, might as well, right? Might as well. But for me, as a Protoss player, I really feel like the priority against Terran is armor rather than weapons, because of the fact that if you're fighting against so many Marines, you minimize the DPS there with the armor itself. But of course, if you have the ground weaponry, you can kill the Marines faster. It just all depends on how these things work. Still, though, for the time being, Observer keeping an eye out. Gonna be see this third command center look to go online. And this might be a situation here that Garchuu realizes that he can build whatever the hell he wants, because his opponent is going for heavy economy for this brawl.
Yeah, the good harassments here onto the side of Garchuu.
Low ground. Goodbye to Tech Lab. This being a big bother. And this is what I love to see on these triangle formed maps, Mr. Vic. It's when you have these blink stalkers, you can blink on up if you feel the aggression, but you can actually poke them with the Observer as we see. But upgrades are going online, and Vandraus looking to defend.
Yeah, good place coming in for Garchuu, actually taking significant amount of units here.
Just goodbye to a few things here and there. Combat Shield, though, gonna be online. We'll keep them quite alive. Marauders also gonna get Concussive Shell. And Vandraus is really looking to taste every single flavor of cuisine before anything else. So, for the time being, we will see the racks in the Tech Lab on yet again. 4 rack setup here for our Pink Terran. Interesting adjoint choices, though, and I'd love to see him actually go for more Marines into this one, but it seems like he's going for a Marauder heavy comp instead.
And good catch here coming in from Garchuu with Zealot charge already near its completion, and I think Zealots are really good against this composition, especially if he opts to go for that heavy Marauder composition.
Yes,
they really lack that DPS, you know.
Yeah, they just go for the slow, and sure, they're gonna bother those Zealots here and there, but with charge slots online, they actually become a useful unit against Terran because they get in your face. They are just absolute fanatics. And is this real? Guys, did we suddenly queue up for a campaign game? Because we are gonna get some upgrades that we don't normally see. So extra armor for structures, extra space inside, well, things you can load on in. So interesting choice here for Vandraus. I really feel like he's losing out on the fact that he's not building more and more of these Marines. Because look at that Marine count right now. Almost 20 is an absolute pittance against 16 Stalkers as well as 7 Zealots. And here we go! Psystorm gonna be going online. But the thing is, though, since Garchuu is not gonna be looking to duel against a Marine-based composition, he's actually gonna see a lot of Marauders. These Psystars might not be as best as they can be, but Garchuu right now picking off the Ravens there. Here we go with the Marines right now trying to get back in position. And Garchuu looking to survive with everything else. Seems like, though, the Zealots are going to be mobilizing all the way. Sentries in the meantime going to get caught out. And the Concave of Stalkers keeping alive. There we go with the blink on the way. And Garchuu right now intercepting from the ramp. There we go with the Sentries keeping the Guardian Shield on. Going to be a Warp Cycle out in front, but Garchuu blocking his own units. Still, though, it's not going to be enough. Vandraus, that critical mass is nowhere to be seen. And when you are even on the army count against Protoss, you know you're going to be in a bad time.
Yeah, that was a really late timing attack coming in onto the side of Vandraus. And one of the details that we must check here is the observer placements coming in onto the side of Garchuu. Yung base niya cover ng mga observer, and also he is taking control of the Zelnaga towers, and he can anticipate the movement onto the side of Vandraus dito. And now it's time for Garchuu to counter-attack. He is already making his way across the map. And I
And
think at this point, as Storm is also finished, I think Garchuu has this in the bag, I think.
yeah, it might be a little too early to call, but I really feels that when you're playing that Saren, you just want to have bigger numbers against your opponent. And that's where the swarm of Marines can really pack a punch. When you have too many Marines there, it's just boot camp in order, and the Protoss can't keep up against all the DPS and all the units being funneled. But at the same time, as Garchuu just looking to go for the cleanup now with the Blink Stalker, we saw that a while ago. He intercepted the Raven, prevented the anti-armor from connecting, and it was as easy as 1, 2, 3 for him to get the cleanup on. Now he's playing it safe and sound. Warp Prism though, gonna have High Templar on the inside, and maybe some Psystorm drops. Gonna be interesting here as Guardian Shield is propped by Garchuu. He's gonna go on the offensive. There we go with more of these lots, and it's a pretty basic composition to try and take this win.
Yeah, and I think at around 8-minute mark, you should have at least 6 to 8 barracks if you're opting to go for that bio position.
That's a lot. I say by 8 you should have at least 5. 6 to 8 is kind of overkill, not gonna lie. But you know, it really is what it is. When you want to go for even more of a push, it can debate about it. But right now, the debate has been set with the Psystorms. You can see them just dropping on down to get the hits on, and GG is called. The problem with going for that Saren, just shopping like that, Vic, is just not gonna be enough against overwhelming numbers, and Garchuu will take that victory. He's even on +2/+2. What a big army lead. And when you're playing macro against a Protoss, when you let them do these things, it really goes to show how you can falter. The Golden Armada is golden for a reason, and you can see Garchuu absolutely shine here on Eternal Empire.
It's like I'm watching Baby Parting.
Actually, right, he went for Blink Stalker with Twilight Cancel, so that's such a parting move. Nice storms also.
Good plays coming in. Yeah, nice storms. Everything, to be honest. Near perfect.
Yeah, I commend Garchuu over there, just being one up against his opponent. And I really feel like there for Vandraus, he had so many good ideas, and he had a few things here and there that can really be looked at standard. But at the same time, he suddenly decides to diverge into a few things that are kind of out of place, and going for a Marauder-based composition just isn't the way to go. It's so easy to counter that with Zealots into play and with Archons to help out as well. And it was just so easy for Garchuu to keep up ahead, to keep everything he had, and even defend with not only mobility, but at the same time just getting in his face. Good interceptions there, good calls overall, and Garchuu will take that first map victory. Now, as we are moving into map number 2, it's going to be another macro mace back here, Vic. We are going now to Ice and Chrome LE, and since we saw both sides liking to play the macro, what do you think that Vandraus needs to do for this game? If he wants to play that macro, he has to respect his opponent, right? And he has to do something against Garchuu, or else it's going to be the same old game yet again.
Well, his timing attack, nakita ko na eh, parang gusto niya mag-timing attack, but it is around, I think it is around 3 minutes late.
Yeah.
With that timing attack. With that time frame that he hit his timing attack, the storms are already finished, the forge upgrades are already finished, so it would not be a good fight, especially if you are in that equilibrium when you are with that supply with the Protoss.
Completely agree. So it just feels like it's too much to handle, and if Vandraus here is able to answer back quickly, then that can be the difference maker. But the thing about Gold to Diamond is sometimes we see people from Gold, sometimes we see people from Diamond. And, well, the story of this game is, well, we have a Gold player on that Saren, and we have a Diamond player on that Protoss. But we'll find out if we can bridge the gap in this game, or will we see Garchuu move on to round number 3. Let's get into the next maps. Let's get into the frigid ways of Ice and Chrome. Whew. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 2 out of 3. And this time is still, of course, your TVP. And you are tuning on in to the Quarantine Tournament number 5 broadcast of round number 2 matches. This is our second match of Gold to Diamond. We're going to be doing another one after this for Gold to Diamond. And then we'll do 3 matches there on the Masters Plus bracket. But introducing first, he's down by 1. But he's looking to be the Avatar of Vengeance here. It is our Pink Terran. Looking to show on up. It is Vandraus. And his opponents here on the southwest side of Ice and Chrome. He's looking to be the one that you can choose from that Pokeball. He is your blue Protoss, Garchuu, with a 1 map advantage. So here we
Baby
go
parting.
again. Baby parting versus the SM window shopper there. That's what I call Vandraus right now. Because as you can see, he even decides to go into like a furniture store and buy a chair when you go to the engineering bay and decide to get those random upgrades. And as he's going to go for twin refineries from the get-go, will he go for something gas intensive like maybe mass reapers right now to go for the harassment? Will we see some more tech lab units? What's the play here for Vandraus?
Well, we might see a BC opening. And two gas are really unusual, but he can go with that early mech aggression, then
Ooh.
transition to bio. I think there's a build that Thermal made in YouTube that it's similar to this.
And we've been seeing some two refinery antics for quite a while already. It's been pretty popular for Terran, and I've seen it turn into Reaper, Hellion, Siege Tank aggression in many different kinds of matchups. So we'll see if Vandraus can actually go for that mech to give him some time to get that bio ball up and running. But in the meantime, Garchuu with just utter confidence. He immediately goes for a Nexus first, I believe. He just got his gateway, he's got his core, and he just sets on up to set that natural very, very quickly. Utter confidence after winning out that first game. And he knows if he can play the same kind of macro that he saw last round, then he's gonna be in for a good time.
Yeah, so we'll see what would be the follow-up here. Tech Lab being attached.
Oh, hey, the Reaper guys. The Reaper guys did not spaz out this time. So it seems like the Reaper has graduated from grade 1 and moved over to grade 2 and instead throws down a cluster bomb but decides to get the hell out of there, just seeing what kind of intel is into play. He now knows that his opponent is at the very least on a 2-base setup, seeing all the buildings there. And as you said, Tech Lab gonna be built onto Vandraus' side. Usually, we see a reactor, right? If it's a Hellion opening, you get twin Hellions. If you see the reactor there, you can also get twin Medivacs with Starport. But since he's going for the Tech Lab, this is what we're talking about, that gas intensivity with 2 refineries might allow him to get some kind of unit, maybe the Cyclone, here for defense or a Siege Tank up on top.
Yeah, I think a Cyclone would be better. It negates any kind of Warp Prism pressure being applied to you compared to a Siege Tank.
Oh, and he's going for it. He's not only just going for that Cyclone there, Vic. He's even gonna get Maglock Acceleration. So this is an interesting starting point here for Vandraus, because it's mech time. Are we seeing shades of previous matches here? Because we're gonna see triple factory. And what do you think? What kind of composition will we get from Vandraus this time?
I think we're going to see a battle mech style coming in from the side of Vandraus.
Oh, cluster bomb though, bouncing that adept. There we go with the lock-on, getting the connection onto this scouting unit. Goodbye to Garchuu's adept there, but he's gonna respect his opponent's build order, and he's gonna say, okay, it's time to get those immortals. So Stalker's immortal is gonna be absolutely important, and I really feel like he should be starting this Blink Stalker ASAP as soon as he gets that gas. Because it's against Cyclones, right? You need to find a way to dislodge the lock-on, and there you go, Twilight Cancel, gonna allow things to happen.
Yeah, Vandraus has a time to beat here. You don't want those stalkers to reach a very high unit count. So I don't think speed battle mech would be really working at this point of the game, but we'll see. Maybe Vandraus has something up in his sleeve that will surprise us at this point of the game.
Yeah, and Micro correctly, he might be able to catch these Immortals off guard. Not sure, the Stalkers are going to be out in front, especially when they get their Blink. But if you can get that lock on the Immortal and keep it followed, then the Maglock Acceleration can really help out in adding on to the DPS there of those Cyclones. Observer, though, going to be into play, a really smart call. And this is something I see a lot in our current ladder pool here, Vic. Since we have the 1-2-3 triangle formation on bases, Blink Stalkers are even better than before. It's not just about the balance itself, it's just about the ladder pool, and it really goes to show that maps can change the meta, as the Cyclones right now going for the pokes, but with the Immortal out in front and the Stalkers getting the DPS on, it's such a hard call for Vandraus to keep up this pressure.
Yeah, and also good reactions coming in on from Garchuu, not over probing, and invested heavily on his Stalkers already, and this Immortal can really save the day, especially when they're battling with that battle mech composition.
Hey, you know, for one thing though, Vandraus has been doing his macro clean. His decisions haven't been the best, But the things that he's been getting, the way he's been setting on up, has been pretty solid so far. This is a good foundation here for Vandraus. He does go for the call supply, though. And for me, it's whenever you go for the call supply, it's just you messing up your build order and forgetting that, hey, you gotta build supply depots sometimes. And everyone does it. Everyone makes that mistake. But every single time you do that, that means that's one less mule for that OP mineral count. But in any case, though, Cyclone's into play. They have their laser beams ready to go for the pew pew pew. This Observer, though, keeping an eye out. And with the fact that Garchuu knows this is coming, he can easily position his units in a way that they can intercept and they can isolate these Cyclones.
Yeah, especially that blink is already finished onto the side of Garchuu. Getting all of these Cyclones can be really crucial. I think if he manages...
God. There, he managed something, and you can see the steaming pile of scrap immediately. Garchuu just keeping an eye out. And speaking of, well, upgrades, though, we are going to get that +1 very soon here from the side of Vandraus. See, halfway done. There we go, though, with the stock to intercept. And something to note, though, it's going to be that old school mech, but seems like old school is not going to be cool because the Blink Stalkers go for the push. They get the shutdown on a good bulk of Cyclones, and that's a heavy investment here from Vandraus. We are going to see Hot Wheels into play. We're going to see Hellions. We're going to see Siege Tanks. We're going to see Cyclones. It feels like we're in EDSA yet again, but for now, one way to unclog the traffic here in the Philippines is to just blow up every single car you see along the way.
Yeah, and I think at this point, you know what they say about mech is that once they are killed, they really take a long time to be replenished once again. So we'll see on how Garchuu would utilize this War Prism onto his favor.
Trying to go for the blink, though. Loses a few units here and there, but for the time being, you know, what is dead will stay dead is the motto here of mech. So at the very least, Vandraus in the meantime going to be able to set himself up with some siege tanks here. And you can't really go wrong with positioning like this, especially since you have some siege tanks in behind. Just make sure if you go for a Blink Stalker all-in push, then you can get torn apart by a few more shots here and there. Missile turret, though, finally putting a stop to this. And I like how Vandraus has set up this missile turret to, at the very least, stop the Observer, because he knows that his opponent knows too much about him. And an Observer up in the air is a good way to basically see everything coming. So for Vandraus right now, keeping an eye out, keeping defense on. He's looking to play this mech 2-2 base. But the problem here is Garchuu has heavy map control, and he can expand any way he wants to.
Yeah. I think that is one of the... it's really counterintuitive to Turtle against Protoss. Because once they really get their economy up and running, they can transition to any kind of technology that they want, you know. You might be settling up for a huge siege tank Turtle, and they show up with that Golden Armada. Especially that Void Rays are heavily buffed this patch.
Yeah, you know, people still sleep on them, but I've seen a few things here and there about Void Rays. Still, though, it's kind of a little too cheesy for my own liking, because you can just get so much effectivity, right, with all of these ground-based units. The Stalkers, the Immortals, they're such a scary comp, and it really goes to show when you can overwhelm your opponent on the ground that you can just win the whole game. Speaking of the window, we are going to see more and more of a car show here from Vandraus. Some Hellions, maybe that new sports car that you'd like. Here we go with the ATV that is the Cyclone, and you're feeling down heavy. You got your Hummer truck that is the Siege Tank, and everyone now looking to go in a one-lane slate. But Garchuu, in the meantime, looking to play into the future. He is going for these Stalkers, moving around the map. And this is looking really good here for our Protoss player, because he is up on the army count, up on the workers, up on the bases, and he's keeping up the upgrades as well. So what's the play here, Vic? What's the plan? What can Vandraus do against all of this?
Well, when I'm playing against mech, you don't want them to get their fort base. You kind of want to pressure them and force them to actually move out or maybe defend. So I think run buys, or we'll see on how Garchuu can actually utilize his War Prism right here onto the top, onto the 12 o'clock mark of our map.
That's a really good call there, and I completely forgot that there was a War Prism into play, because this time Garchuu looking to try and go for the drops. He has those Zealots on the inside, and Garchuu is basically gonna be trying to put Vandraus on the spot. Can he distract these units enough? The problem is Vandraus has set up those siege modes already, so he doesn't need to micro too much, but the Charles is now gonna be getting into play. These Terran units do need to mobilize. There's no way for them to reinforce quickly, and this is just some SCVs going down as soon as possible. Blue Flame, though, into play. The Hellions are gonna be there, and here we go with more of these Hellions trying to go for the protection, but the SCV count is already dwindling by a dozen. Good shutdown here from Garchuu so far. Vandraus Gonna lose out there, and it's a big part of his economy going on down. This third base sure has these mules, but for the time being, Garchuu needs everything he can to go for the harassment, as Vandraus is gonna bring in the Thor instead.
Yeah,
This is kind of the scary
coming
part,
in from Garchuu.
right? It's looking good here, but it's kind of the scary part because if you leave your mech opponent alone too much, with the Thors into play, they can really keep a hefty front line if need be.
Yeah, but the problem against this kind of mech is that they really lack the mobility. So Garchuu still has a lot of options to play here. He can go for that Sky Toss composition, or he can also go for this heavy Immortal play. And especially we're talking about the lack of mobility. 3 base would not cut it if you would want to play a mech late game.
Hey, you want mobility? You got it. Dark Shrine is out, and we are gonna see Blink DTs even. So it's time to get through that section. It's time to get on through as much as possible. Vandraus, though, in the meantime, he sees the Dark Shrine coming, and he's gonna say missile turret, missile turret, missile turret. Everyone gets a missile turret for the time being. But this allows our Terran to play it slow and steady. We are gonna see a mech game actually not fall apart from the get-go here. So I already got commit Vandraus because he's able to defend. He's able to set on up. And usually when you go mech in this day and age, you don't get past that 10-minute mark because you get overrun by whatever the other guy has. So kudos to Vandraus right now, but Garchuu looking pretty scary here with the heavy immortal compositions you said. Rock still getting torn apart, and I like how Garchuu is looking future-proof because he doesn't want to get caught in a funnel against siege tanks.
And also good precautions coming in onto the side of Vandraus, actually putting in missile turrets to protect the siege tanks on siege mode. But here comes the massive concave onto the side of Garchuu. Good splits here, and a lot of siege tanks actually not on siege mode here, but they are now up and ready to go. But more reinforcements coming onto the side of Garchuu, and charge lots would just wreak havoc onto the siege tanks.
Too little, too late. And there you go. We called it there. Eventually, it felt like a rising storm was coming, and Garchuu catching out this opponent at the right time. As he said there, the siege mode just wasn't there from Vandraus, and I really felt like if he was only ready for it, he could have put a good fight, could have put a bigger dent against all of that, but the numbers were just a little too overwhelming. So many mortals into play, and that is that. Garchuu is your next round 3 player. He moves on as well alongside Mr. Lasty, and that's our second match here, Gold to Diamond. Pretty solid game so far though, but it really goes to show that the level of competition here, as soon as round 2 comes, it gets fiercer and fiercer, and if you're on the newer side, you gotta bring your A game or you're gonna get overrun like this. Good try though. Good try for Vandraus. I gotta commend this guy. It's such a big disparity between Gold to Diamond. And Garchuu, as we said, this guy has made it to the big leagues in many of our quarantine tournaments. So it's no surprise that he takes this victory. But I gotta say, for Vandraus, surviving past 10 minutes on mech is already a victory in its own slate. And the best thing he can do is work on his good macro and make better decisions, right? Just make sure that he can do the right things at the right times with the right units, and he can go a long way because you can see the foundations there for our gold player was pretty solid so far, and if he can just keep up on the macro side, then he can do even better into this game.
Yeah, good plays coming in from Garchuu, and also huge kudos for Vandraus to actually holding and surprising everyone with those mech composition against Protoss.
Can't really go wrong with that, so, but in the end, that is why the Bible is a-okay and is pretty much the standard here. But our standard score still reigns 2-0, right, guys? Garchuu will take that victory, and we will be getting into our third match for Gold to Diamond very soon. We will be right back. Our next one is going to be a fun one because it will be a PvT yet again, but we will see some more familiar names here, especially a returning champion that has started things off in the quarantine setup. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Our next one will be Stuggy versus Shenanigans.